Fernando Mendoza is going to be the 101 in the upcoming NFL draft, but what does that mean for fantasy football purposes? As dynasty managers, we've got to find that next QB that could elevate their team. Coach, now we're going to talk about whether Fernando Mendoza is that guy. Coming off a pretty massive season at Indiana where they won their first championship and, really looked like a college football team for the first time, Coach. Mendoza won the Heisman with over 3,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns on the season. Um, it's really going to be interesting, Coach. Can he save this Raiders team, presuming he's going to be that 101?
We spent a lot of time breaking down film on Fernando Mendoza yesterday, and there's a lot of things to like with Fernando Mendoza. There are some concerning things that, especially as a dynasty manager, doesn't make you want to run out and grab Mendoza. One of those would be he's not a super athlete, right? Like he just isn't very athletic at all, to be honest. That's one thing that's going to limit his dynasty and his fantasy production. We know that his feet are not going to, send your numbers through the roof like a guy like Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams. But he does do some good things. We don't want to sit here and bash everything he does this whole time. He does a lot of good things. He's a really good RPO reader. That's one of his strengths, without a doubt. He's excellent at that. He makes good decisions. He's incredibly accurate with the football. Those are things that, as as a Raiders fan, for instance, you'd be excited to have him because of his accuracy and his ability to read RPOs. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts there, Matt?
and I think you bring up a good mention here, Coach, about his athleticism. And let's start there. It's not just about his ability to scramble or do designed runs, because they did do some zone reads at Indiana, but it's definitely not his game. And I think it pairs kind of to, Coach, with gathering yourself in the pocket. At times, if it did look to crumble, if maybe a blitzer got through, which we can't deny, and I have to mention it, that offensive line at Indiana was very good. They did not give up a lot of pressure to Mendoza, so he had a pocket generally the entire game every single week. But all that to say, if there is somebody that gets through, if there is some pressure and he needs to gather his feet or kind of move around in the pocket, at times it felt like to me, Coach, that he struggled with that, or he would lose his footing and not be able to really get his body under control. And that's kind of concerning in the NFL, where we know that these pass rushers kind of elevate to another level.
Yeah, I mean, to say the least, he is not. Nothing he does is graceful or even looks athletic outside of the pocket, right? I mean, just being honest, there's no doubt. His feet get, for lack of better terms, twisted up. He just doesn't look comfortable or athletic outside the pocket. That is going to hinder him. There's no doubt. It's going to hinder his fantasy production. It's going to hinder his ability to, I know the word everybody uses now is off platform. He struggles with all those. Like these throws where he's not in the pocket and his feet aren't set. Those are definitely not a strength of his.
Yeah, and there was one play that comes to mind yesterday, Coach. We were watching. I think it was against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. He kind of gets outside of the pocket, gets a little bit rushed, and tries to do an off-platform throw. And he's got a wide receiver that was open on the deep post. I can't remember the exact route, and he just kind of missed him. And you immediately said that's the throw that Caleb Williams would hit. And you're
Yeah.
not wrong. I mean, when he can't make that throw, again, it seems to me that he's really, really good and really effective when he's on time and things are going as planned, because he's incredibly disciplined. Like you mentioned, Coach, he's pretty good at reading the RPO. He's good at reading the coverages pre-snap and kind of getting an idea of where he wants the ball to go. And he's not going to necessarily put the ball in harm's way. I mean, he only had 6 interceptions all season. There were times yesterday, Coach, when we even saw he made the wrong read on the RPO and he threw the ball away from the receiver just to avoid any mistakes.
Yeah, he's definitely good at that. He's also really good at picking up blitzes. Like if you do anything slightly wrong, he's going to recognize it. And those are definitely his strengths. Like he is very smart pre-snap. Like his eyes are really good pre-snap. And then coming off of it after the post snap, his eyes are really good there too. And if he doesn't like it, he tends to make really good decisions. If things blow up, mid snap, he makes good decisions with the football then also.
Yeah, and since you mentioned the word blow up, coach, I want to talk about also his ability to take a hit. I mean, we saw against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, first play of the game, he got absolutely rocked. We saw against your Miami Hurricanes, coach, where they really put a beating on him in that first half. And
Mhm.
Mendoza, to his credit, gets right back up and continues to stand in the pocket and deliver. And we mentioned that offensive line. The offensive line in likely Vegas, where he should end up going, is not very good. So they're going to have to make a bunch of changes there to kind of protect him. But he is able to stand in the pocket, deliver, and he will take a hit. So I want to pull up one play here, coach, that we watched yesterday. I think it's a notable throw, and really just watch him sit in the pocket, take this hit right here in the middle, and deliver a pretty good ball here. So, coach, why don't you give us a breakdown here?
Yeah, I mean, what I really like about this more than anything is he recognizes the coverage shift. They send heat, they roll the safety down into cover three right there, and he recognizes it when the strong comes down and then throws the seam ball right behind it and then takes a shot in order to deliver it. Like everything about that is good. His pre-snap recognition of the blitz and the strong rolling down, then recognizing that they're going to three and he's going to have the seam. I mean, all of that is fantastic. I mean, the dude is tough. Like, there is no doubt. He is incredibly tough. He's willing to step in there and just take a shot if that's what it takes in order to win a ball game.
Yeah. And coach, this is the part everyone's going to ask. Well, should I be drafting him? And especially in our dynasty football drafts, coach, as we approach them, we know one thing: the quarterback position is so valuable. If Mendoza does get picked 101, which I think we both believe will happen, and he ends up being a Las Vegas Raider, how high do we take him in our rookie mocks?
Well, I'm going to say this. We haven't really talked about comps, but I'm going to go there because I think it's important when you're thinking about drafting him. Um, for me, in my opinion, the top level for him is a Jared Goff or Sam Darnold type quarterback. Like, that's who Mendoza is. Good pre-snap, above average arm, not a Matt Stafford type of arm, but definitely strong enough to succeed in the NFL. Very very much Sam Darnold and Jared Goff. So when you think about that, you got to think about if you get that type of quarterback, it's probably a QB2 on a team that wins, right? If he reaches that potential, if he becomes that good, right? It's going to take a lot for him to reach that ceiling and become as good as he could. So if you get that guy that reaches his ceiling, you're going to have a really solid QB2 on your, if you're playing Superflex, on your fantasy team. So that's something to keep in mind. You also have to keep in mind with a guy like Sam Darnold, for instance, the situation had to get really good around him for him to be super successful. So there could be some growing pains here with Mendoza and that Raiders offense.
Yeah, and the Raiders offense, coach, we've mentioned the offensive line. They do have a couple weapons in Genty and of course Brock Bowers. You and I both love Bowers. We both weren't necessarily as high on Genty last season. I'm not really sure where we'll fall this season. I think it's going to be dependent on what they do with the offensive line. But all that to say, the wide receivers in Vegas are not good right now. I mean, Jack Besh was basically a non-factor. I mean, they lose Jacoby Myers. They, have Thornton, but he's not really been anything either. So they'll probably have to make some additions there, see some serious steps forward from the guys they have. And coach, I think it limits the expectations of what we can get from Mendoza, especially early on in year one. So if you're drafting him at the 101, 102, and you need a quarterback, I'm not going to fault you for drafting a quarterback that early because that's typically what we need to do. The quarterback position is so valuable. His value is going to maintain even if he performs poorly. I mean, we've seen this year after year. Bryce Young's value stayed very, very high. Caleb Williams is a little bit different, but his value remained very high even after a poor rookie season. And that just kind of falls over for all these other names too. But for Mendoza specifically, the weapons are very limited, so they need to address that issue. The offensive line is poor, and he doesn't add that rushing upside that we typically would see from some of the newer guys that are coming into the league. You mentioned the name Sam Darnold and Jared Goff. That feels like the ceiling for him if he could
Mhm.
even get that high. The other name that I told you when we were watching film yesterday is he looks like Joe Flacco with a worse arm because he just can't move. He's just standing in the pocket. He looks to me like a pocket game manager, but that doesn't mean he can't be successful. in the NFL. And it doesn't mean he can't be successful for fantasy purposes, but it's going to really heavily rely on what is around him.
Well, the thing you see time and time again at Indiana for him is, well, he had experienced and talented wide receiving core. He trusted those guys. He would throw back shoulder fades it's 3 times a game probably. He's throwing that ball up on back shoulder fades and trusting those guys to go get it. Well, you got to ask yourself, can he do that to Dante Thornton and Jack Besh? Right now, I'd say probably not, but that doesn't mean they won't get help around him, and that's how it goes. The other thing you see time and time again when you watch Indiana is it's probably 75% RPO. You see a lot of RPO. Well, when that happens, especially in the NFL, I think in the NFL he's going to see more man coverage, and it's going to muddy up some of that RPO. He's going to get a lot more pressure, especially in years 1 and 2. He's going to get a lot more pressure and a lot more man coverage, which will eliminate some of that RPO. It's going to be about recognizing matchups and delivering the ball, which is something he's pretty good at. He recognizes pressure well. He understands his matchups and understands where he can go and win. The question is, can the Raiders put enough talent around him for him to be able to do that successfully?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question going forward. Can he continue to be the mistake-free quarterback in probably a worse situation than what he had at Indiana? The other question mark that I kind of have, Coach, is not that Indiana didn't do it, but generally speaking, they love to run out of shotgun. So his under center snaps were limited. What we know, that's going to be more prevalent in the NFL. You have to go under center. Now, he did do it at Indiana, so that doesn't stress me out too much, but it is a factor, don't you think, Coach?
Yeah, it's a factor, but I actually tend to think he may be an even better quarterback under center, to be honest. Like, I could see him being really good at that, sort of like Sam Darnold, who really got more under center this year than he's ever been in his career, and it enabled him to be successful in the league. So, I can see Mendoza doing that, but you can't run RPO under center. Like, that's a difficult thing. So that would eliminate that portion of the game. But we all know in the NFL, it's a lot more about getting under center and running the ball and play action and things like that, and then booting out. And I think Mendoza can be successful there.
Yeah. So it's going to be exciting to see what he can do. We'll see if he ends up going to the combine running. I'm interested to see if he ends up doing that or if he'll throw there. He'll probably save it for his pro day because that's the kind of trend now for if you're the consensus guy, save it for the pro day, do it in your home environment with the guys you trust, like you mentioned, Coach. But lots of things to come down the line here with the Face Off Sports Network. Yeah.
Let me ask you, I want to jump in. Let me ask you this. So if I'm a guy who has let's say I have the 108 and the 110, should I be trying to move up and draft Mendoza? What are your thoughts there?
I mean, if you're QB needy, you can. I probably wouldn't, to be honest. I think I would look elsewhere. If you truly need a quarterback, I'd look to package those 2 picks and go get someone else. See if you could find some sort of better deal of, like, could you not take that 110 and buy low on CJ Stroud? I get it's not great, but his value's never been lower. You could try Sam Darnold or Bryce Young. Like, I would be more intrigued to take a pick and go get one of those guys and then keep the other one. And you probably can get a guy like Ty Simpson at the end of the first round pick, or maybe Chambliss.
I took a mid to late first and moved it for Jordan Love. I would definitely do something like that before I tried to get up in the draft to take Mendoza, just to be frank with you.
Yeah, because the other risk you run is, let's say you're going to get the 102. That 101 could easily be traded to a different quarterback needy team, or he could take the quarterback, and now you're stuck with Love or one of the wide receivers, which, don't get me wrong, that's not a bad consolation prize. But at the same time, if you went all in to go get that quarterback and you don't get him, your whole plan just exploded.
Yeah, I'd be saying something drastically different if he had better feet and was a better athlete, right? Like, he could compensate with some of that, but he hasn't shown that at all. Last year, for instance, I was a drafter of Cam Ward, and this year that didn't help me any. So you could expect something similar with Mendoza. Now, it doesn't mean Tennessee doesn't figure it out, and I'm hanging on to a good piece in the next couple of years. But right now, it didn't help me in the immediate. So kind of keep that in mind with Mendoza also.
And Ward showed flashes going through this season. Jackson Dart, same thing. He showed flashes, but he also had his feet to really elevate his game. And Mendoza, again, he had some runs at Indiana, but in my opinion, I don't think that will work in the NFL, nor do I think that is his real game. I mean, he had 7 rushing touchdowns, 276 rushing yards on 90 attempts, but it's not for him. You can watch it, you can see it, and I don't think he's going to be successful at that in the NFL.
Now, the one thing I do want to say this about Mendoza, and it's probably what I admire the most about him, is the dude is a competitor. Like, he is a winner and he is a competitor, and he will stick his face in there and take a shot if he has to get 1 yard, if that's what it takes. He's a guy, his teammates are going to love him because he's tough as nails and he's going to fight. So he's got an opportunity to be good, but it's going to take some work by the Raiders to help him out.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree, Coach. Ultimate competitor, and I think he'll fit in with that. And whether he can be successful, again, a lot of it's going to come down to what the Raiders or whatever team ends up drafting him. So we will see, but all sorts of stuff coming out here at the Face Off Sports Network, Coach. We've got mock drafts coming around the corner. We've been watching film, so we'll have some more rookie spotlights for you guys here soon. But until then, we'll catch you in the next one.